paper, it's on teachers' identities. So the positionings of teachers when they teach. So then here the argument on this paper is that once you understand your identity of teaching, that will be a tool for you to access teaching. So this paper then is indicating 3 categories of identities that you may understand this issue coming from this side or from this side or from this side. But if then you want to read this paper, you will find it if you go to our learning space, and alternatively, you can go to Google Scholar. You type the name of the author, and then it will generate all the papers from the author. Then you choose this one that is written, can teachers' identities come to the rescue in the 4th Industrial Revolution? So that's the main discussion in the paper. So when you read the paper, but before you read the paper, you first need to understand what we started as part of our discussion, where we said our positioning, it's around the mind. So when we read something, we read it because we have a certain experience that is driven by our mind. So our mind then will then give us a pretty good idea on how to read what we want to read. And remember, we said the mind is divided into 3 categories like this. So this first category, which is the unconscious mind, unconscious mind is what I can say is your original identity, because you cannot control whatever is happening around the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind, it's your body system, is your DNA, which help you to breathe. It helps you with your heartbeat. It helps you with digestion and blinking, all those. So the issues of your body that you may not even take control of. Because if I can just ask you to say, today, breathe only twice a day. It's not possible for you to do that because it's happening naturally. Therefore, this unconscious mind, it's your permanent identity, which is tirelessly working well to build the body that you have. So when that process is happening of building your body, developing your body to what it is today, remember, you record all those experiences of developing your body. Where do you record this? The subconscious mind is there to record everything, is recording everything. So whatever belief you have, it's there in the subconscious mind. Whatever emotions, feelings, habits, superstition, they all reside there, where you just draw from there if you want to use whatever you want to use. So in other words, you can control that space. But remember, the issue here is quite mathematical, that in the subconscious mind, we don't subtract or divide. We only add or multiply. Here's an example. If you say, I don't want to think about lions because lions, I'm scared of lions. So today, I don't want to think about lions. To your surprise, you'll find that your subconscious mind will trigger more lions than you anticipated. So the moment you say, I want to subtract the lion from my thinking system, you will multiply it if you don't add it. But there's no way that you can think it out. You you throw it away, you subtract it. No, it doesn't work like that. So what your subconscious mind will do is that you will have to bring something that you want to replace the lion with. For example, if you don't want to think about lion, don't take a direction that I want to subtract lions because we'll multiply them or add them more. So what you do then, you have to think about something else that you like most and keep on thinking about it so that then you suppress the lion. But it does not mean that we have removed the lion. The lion is still there. It's just that you suppress with new information that you want to use at that particular time. So that's why then when people want to annoy you, they will just trigger the lion if they are aware that you are scared of lions. They will just tell you about lions. So when you try to say, no, guys, I don't want to remember lions, you have a problem because when you say that, you may multiply it or you add more lions. So what you should do then, leave that space and think about zebras if you like zebras. Think about zebras more and more and more and more, and then add leopard more and more. You will keep on suppressing the lion. But in the subconscious mind, whatever is there permanent. If you think that we have removed it, you are making a big mistake because it will be triggered one day. So what you can do yourself a favor is to bring what you like most. Keep on using what you like most all the time. You'll keep on suppressing the lion so that the lion will be maybe underneath 100 items that we have generated in your subconscious mind. But we don't subtract or add. We don't subtract or divide. We only add there. So how do you do that then? You need to reason. Use the conscious mind. Conscious mind is the power of reasoning that we have as human beings. Where when you reason, you will know things that have not worked for you in your previous years, and then start to replace them accordingly. So in replacing them, remember we are suppressing them, but you are not subtracting them or dividing them. You are just suppressing them. They will still be there, but if they are suppressed, they are in the bottom of your pack, then it will be easier for you to forget about them for a certain period. But if it is triggered by something, then unfortunately it will come back. But what we mostly have then as human beings, because animals have one life, they just have one life because they don't reason. They only use the unconscious and subconscious. Whatever they do, it's just like that. They can't reason to say, no, I'm a lion. I don't have to eat this person because this person belongs to the king. Maybe belong to the king of the Zulus or king of the Chinese. So let me not eat. No, they don't reason. If they have to eat, they have to eat. It's as simple as that. But human being, they will have to reason to say, no, hey, the king will come after me, therefore I should not this and this. That's the reasoning power. So for us then, because we have two lives, we have what we call creationism as well as evolutionary theory. So when we have those two powerful theories that are influencing us, it's difficult for us to live one life. Because if we try to live life of a creationist, who will believe that everything was divine created, therefore we don't have to work hard because all what we do will then ask the creator to give us, if we want to pass, for example, we just ask the creator to give us the pass percentage. On the other hand, if we are to take our lives as evolutionists, then we will then think that whatever natural selection is selecting for us, it's okay, we'll just enjoy it as it is, and then it is according to our inheritance. Therefore, we enjoy it. So, but when you look deeper there and reason deeper, you find that some other these two theories is just that they are competing, but sometimes they may not help you. Then what do? You need to stand between the two of them and find a neutral ground to bring them together. Take the strength of this one and the strength of this one, then you put them there and work on them. So what this paper then is presenting then is the issue of industrial revolution with teacher identities. So industrial revolution then is just a radical change that is happening, or abstraction, destructive innovation from various sectors. So we call that, so when we have that radical change, we call it revolution. So which means then when you have seen COVID-19, COVID-19 brought in another revolution where all universities, or almost all universities, decided to go online and teach online. That was going to happen maybe in the next 10 years, but because of the COVID-19 revolution, then we managed to do that. So there were different kind of revolution that we have seen and that have been observed in this world, starting in the period of the 18th century, where we realized that industries out there were influenced by steam engines that were used for mechanical production. But before that, people then were using what we call animals as the communication tool, or whatever they wanted to do, they were using animals. If they want to carry a bag of milli, it was easy for them just to take a donkey, you take it to the shop, and then the donkey will carry this. If I want to travel to a certain place there, it was easy. You take a horse, then you ride a horse to wherever you are going. That was before the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution, you started in the 18th century. Then it then brought in those engines that help us to build the cars that you see today, railway, road, all those. So they were part of that. So, and then, but later then in 19th century, then in 20th century, we have seen that we observed the introduction of electricity for mass production, so that electricity will help us with that mass production. And then after that, then USA Army introduced what we call computer and the internet. Then we called that the third industrial revolution. So, but you notice that all these tools are coming from outside education. So education is not producing certain resources, but what education is doing is borrowing from those other sectors that have just developed it, like computers and internet from USA Army, which introduced that for communication. Then education had to borrow that tool to use for teaching. And then you can see even this one, Zoom was introduced by Eric for communication. He's a businessman. He wanted to have some conferences, but education had to borrow that idea, bring it this side and use it. That's why we are using it. And then later we have seen then in the 21st century, then We have seen the fourth industrial revolution, then which is dominated by Internet of Things, robotic technology, and all those. And today we even have teacher robots. I've seen quite a number of them in India, teacher robots who are teaching content of those particular subjects, and they are doing well. So this paper then has brought in those revolutions, and then, but COVID-19 is assumed to have introduced what we call fifth industrial revolution, because it has moved those robots and those conferencing tools to education. Then education is managing well with those tools. So we have borrowed them for survival. So this study then also used what you call focus group discussions, reflective activities, one-on-one semi-structured interview, and it's framed by what you call pragmatic paradigm. And then a design is a case study. It also has some theories, which is the tree ring theory, as well as Corral by Pana. Then the findings of the paper, it indicated that the paper has observed that teaching, it's about the three forms of identities, the dominating three forms of identity. Number one is that of professional identity, where you address the what content must I teach, what resources must I use, etc., etc. And then it also has the how part of it, which is societal identity. That one will say, how do they learn? How do I teach, etc., etc., the how part of it. And then there's also personal identity, which is about who is teaching, who is learning. And then after that, then if you combine all of them, they can be naturally driven, because they can answer they can address the question of why do we do what we are doing. So the questions then that were asked through this paper, there were two. The first one is a descriptive question, which is asking what are teachers' identities of teaching mathematics in the fourth industrial revolution. And then the other one is why do they have particular identities in teaching mathematics in the fourth industrial revolution. So remember, papers are addressing certain questions. So the questions for this one were these two. And then papers are formed by a certain paradigm. In this one, the paradigm was pragmatic paradigm, and the design was case study, method of data generation or collection. It was focus group discussion, reflective activity, one-on-one semi-structured interview. So this basically, that is what the paper has. Then why this paper used a pragmatic paradigm? It's because of the need of pragmatic actions. So the paper needed issues of pragmatism to be addressed. So why that? Pragmatic issues have the potential to closely engage and empower marginalized and oppressed communities and provide hard evidence. So it may be someone who's being oppressed, and then using pragmatic actions, you can be able to contribute towards the liberation of that particular individual. So then if you look at it, then pragmatics philosophy hold that human actions can never be separated from past experience and from the belief that have originated from those experiences. So in other words, what we have experienced will generate what we call the belief. And then your subconscious mind will keep that belief about it. And then when you do any action, we will be able to read your belief and your experience that underpin the belief. Then we'll know how you think about this action. So human thoughts then are thus intrinsically linked to action. So what you think will reflect in your action. So when we want to predict your next action, we look at the results of your previous action, as if when you produce another action in future, you will produce an identical action as the previous one. But in actual case, actions cannot be repeated. But when we think they are repeated, is when we are not aware that time and space deny the action to be repeated. But in our prediction, we think that, no, you know what? I scored this goal on yesterday. I want to repeat it today in the same way as yesterday. Then we forget that yesterday is not today. And then the action is no longer the same. No matter how you believe it's identical, it's not the same. It's not the same because we can't repeat it. So what then do we have then when we deal with the issue of pragmatism or pragmatic paradigm? So we have three things. One is the action. There are those of us who like to pay attention on the action. So when they pay attention on the action, they are not worried about the outcome that much, but they are worried about the action. For example, if I were to teach this particular subject, you teach in such a way that you follow your lesson plan as it is, because it is generated from CAPS. So you follow it as it is, and you keep on following. Where you find that you deviated from what was prescribed, that's where you start to say, no, these learners failed, other learners failed because I missed the emphasis on that particular content. So for those of us who take the professional identity, they enjoy concentrating on the action. They can even punish learners if they don't follow the right action. But there are those of us who will simply say, no, as long as they achieve the outcomes, it's okay. They concentrate more on the outcomes. And then there are those of us who will say, no, 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 no. I want to know values that will be produced after teaching these particular subjects. So that's the belief, that you follow the belief, the theory behind your teaching. So, but basically, in these three spaces of pragmatic paradigm, we survive. We all survive, whether we concentrate on the outcomes or content, but mostly we concentrate on the outcomes after we have done the action and then our belief. But to find the meaning of our action and our belief, usually we use the outcome. We try to analyze the outcome. When we analyze the outcome, then that's when we think we know the belief. Like in this paper, I was analyzing the experiences or the identities of these particular teachers who have already taught. They taught this. Now I'm analyzing the consequences, the outcome of what they've experienced. So based on that, then the paper concluded that there are those of them who were concentrating on the action, follow the action professionally, and there were those of them who were just concerned about the outcome. And then there were a few of them then who also thought of theories behind what they were teaching. So that's what these teachers have. So going more on the pragmatic actions, a major contestation of pragmatic paradigm is that meaning of human actions and behavior is found in their consequences. What I've already indicated, that we use the consequences or the outcome to predict their belief and their action. If they do it like this, we'll say they are professionally identifying themselves. If they do this, we say they are societally identifying themselves. But the external forces do not determine human when it comes to a pragmatic paradigm. So in terms of pragmatic paradigm, the external factors are not important because they themselves capable of shaping their bodies, shaping their journeys, shaping their everything. The support from outside may even be missed, but they will. For example, if you have seen that your body has shaped well, but the external factor may not have influenced the shaping of your body, because if the external factor was the factor that shaped your body, then we were all going to have the same body because we're going to take the same theory of shaping our bodies. But the external factors may not that much important influencing us. Although we eat, drink, then we think that when we eat and drink, then we are building our bodies. Maybe we are not building them. We are just giving the process the energy to build the body. See? So we don't know. And also pragmatists then believe that reality is not static. It changes at every turn of event. So in other words, space and time is making sure that you improve your action. And then when you improve your action, you are not repeating it. Because if you have done this in 1 minute past 4, then if it is now 2 minutes past 4, it's no longer the same. The time is no longer the same, which means it's a new action. Therefore, you are improving it. So as the world is also not static. It also becoming something. Because the world that you think you see outside, you see it through your eyes or your senses. Because remember, if someone with a blindness, someone who cannot see, but this person is aware that birds can fly. So flying for him or her is different from your flying. And again, if you use glasses to see, then it's different from someone who does not even use those glasses. You see, so in other words, the world is created in your mind. So your subconscious mind has what you call the world, which is different from other people. Even your siblings have created their own world, which is different from that. Therefore, when you see the world advancing, it advances because of the action that we have in the world that we are creating. So, for example, if you see the first industrial revolution is different from the second industrial revolution and the third and the fourth. Why is that? Because of human action. Oh, those actions are improving the world. So the world is also not static. So as your actions, the actions that you take every time. But what was important then in this paper was to just trigger some curriculum actions that may be aligned with your teaching philosophy. Once you have those stable well, then you will then be able to say, I can now start to read any paper. I can now start to write anything about teaching and learning because I do have a specific concept of my teaching philosophy. So those concepts will help you to write. If they say you need to publish a paper, it will be easier for you if you have those. When you see academics struggling to produce papers, if the universities say every lecturer must produce one paper a year, every senior lecturer must produce 2 papers a year, every professor should produce 3 papers a year, and also be able to supervise PhD, master's, honors students to graduate. If you see academics then who are struggling with that because they don't have identified pillars of their teaching philosophy, because remember, supervision is also teaching. So once you have your teaching philosophy, then we'll use it in your supervision. Once you have your teaching philosophy, you'll use in writing papers. So all those issues all those papers, supervision, teaching processes, you will cover well once you identify specific concepts of your teaching philosophy and you master them. Don't just choose them without defining them. You choose them, you define them. If you choose objectives like Bongo Guhle, who said objectives, seen objectives and assessment, his main task now is to read more papers on objectives, so that if objectives is coming from the left, he should be able to understand it. Aha, still objective. If the objective is coming from the right, he should be able to see it. If it is coming from the top or bottom, he should be able to see it. That's when you have mastered the concept of objective. And then moving to assessment, you do the same. So the world, it's around specific concepts that underpin your philosophy. Then you'll enjoy the world. You'll understand the world, because whatever they are writing, you look for your concept first before you try to read it to understand. So, because once you pick up your concept there, then you will be able to understand it, you see. But if they are not there, hey, struggling, it's normal. So that's why you find that some academics are even running away from universities now. They are going back to school to say, no, hey, publication are giving us, we are struggling with publication and this and this and this, you see. And then if that is the case, then you have a big challenge. Yes, Bongo Guhle?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah.
No, I think something is bothering me here. Is it possible, I mean, to have more than 10 concepts in your philosophy?
Yes, you can have. Look at this. Look at this that are underlined this side. You see, there are more than 10. So if, for example, if you have all these, which means you have already more than 10. But if you have limited yourself with these basic ones, you may have less than 10, you see. But the number is not important. But when you grow up in academia, you'll keep on adding them until they become 100, if they are 100. So, but you need to start with those few for now. For now, start with those few. And then you understand your few concept, and then after that, you will develop. Yes, because look at us. In my case, when I started my career, I used to talk about the reason for teaching, the objectives, teaching resources, summative assessment, and the content. Those were few that I was cracking myself to understand. And then after that, then I realized that these are building on those that I've already identified. Then I started to go for my journey. So when I supervise students, whether a student will come with instructor, I will know that instructor is part of the role. So it's talking about roles. When a student is talking about online, I know it's talking about environment, online environment. So I can supervise any student from any discipline because I know if they're in education, these are the issues that they will refer to. Therefore, it will be easy for me to supervise or teach or discuss the issues that borders them. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, Bongi?
Okay. Then my question, suppose on my first assessment, I had 4 concepts.
Yeah.
And now I have to write, this major assignment. You said there's no wrong teaching philosophy.
Exactly. No.
So if I don't have time, maybe, but I don't need time when I'm teaching. If I don't have time, isn't it gonna probe some questions which this teacher has a philosophy, but like he doesn't have no when they teaching.
Yeah, it may happen if you have not defined your concept of your teaching philosophy. For example, if you don't know that if you are talking about objectives, but we are confusing objectives with outcomes, you see there it may be problematic. But if you have defined objective, you know exactly what objectives are. These are teachers' short-term goals. And then you work according to that process, according to that definition. Therefore, it will be much easier for you. But in writing your assignment based on your philosophy, if you have selected, if you decided to say you want to master 4 concepts only, you can master those for now for this particular assignment, so that when you write this major assignment 1, you write around those 4, so that you do justice to them, rather than having 10 of them but undefined, and rather than having 10 of them without a frame of reference for each one of them. You see, when there are 10, which means you need 10 frames of reference. If there are 4, which means you just try for 4. Just try something that you can show for now. And then later, as you grow in academia, you bring more of those, you see. So, but you can't be wrong by taking 3 or 4, as long as you do justice in each one of them by defining it, discuss it from other studies, and then you put what we call frame of reference. And then from there, you will interpret anything that will come after. You will tell us about what is wrong, what is right. But if you don't have that frame of reference, you can't tell us about what is right or wrong. So in terms of numbers, we don't deal with numbers, we deal with quality. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Thanks so much.
Yeah, just the quality of your discussion that will count. Okay, so then you just have to remember this. Then whenever you read what you read, try to see if these are not appearing in that article, so that it will be easier for you to connect to the article. But you need to understand them. By picking maybe 4 or 3 of them, will help you to start to access those few, and then later then you grow in the field of education. Then you end up reading whatever and writing whatever paper you want to write, and then it will be much easier for you. So in terms of the theories that underpin this paper, we have this one, which is called three rings theory. So these are 3 rings that are indicated here. That ring number 1 is what universities subscribed or prescribed for their students, to say we have Moodle as our learning management system. All of you must use Moodle. When you generate emails, they will come from Moodle. They are not going to come from your personal email. But in our case, then we have taken this position to say, no, we design from the prescribed Moodle. We'll design our own system where we'll generate a group of emails that combine both those that are coming from Moodle and those that are coming from our personal generated emails. So that's why we include your personal emails if you want to use them. And then there's also this social side there where this theory is saying students mostly use what we call search engines like Google Scholar and others, so which is not prescribed, but you can use it as you can. So it has these 3 rings that 1, you can have your personal grouping of issues or build a website that will help you. But universities now, they've introduced learning management systems. Just use the learning management system to put all the things that you were going to put under your website there. So we don't have to design website anymore, but we can use our learning management system for that. And at the same time, when we need information, we may not even bother with the library because we can access the journal via search engines. But then we can ask the library where there are journals that are not accessible without via the library. Then we do it like that. And then the analog of the tree here in this theory, it says that whatever teaching is happening, whatever process of teaching is happening, the main aim is to produce learners, is to teach learners, is to educate learners. So learners are like fruits here, that if we have a tree sometimes have some fruits. So who are those fruits? Are the learners. Now, it also has some roots. A tree has some roots. So the roots is what we don't see, because most of us will talk about cognitivism, to say we want to think about what we are thinking, what we are doing personally, which is cognitivism. And then we want to say, no, we want to change the behavior. So in other words, we want drill students with what we call with content, so that behavioralism. But others will say, no, we want our learners to construct knowledge. So we give them activities, they'll construct knowledge. So part of the roots here that help this tree to grow, which is the stem in this case. A stem is just this design there. So like that in a tree, we have what we call a stem, which is built by effective work of the roots. And then the stem then will produce the branches. The branches will produce some fruits. So these issues here are just used just to understand how the world of learners work in terms of working with technology. But yeah, we can further explain the theory if any one of you want to use it. And then there's also another one by William Piner called Currell. Currell is saying teachers should first understand their personal identities. So as they understand their personal identities, they will become better teachers. Because what they'll do, they'll use, under regressive moment here, they will use their previous experience to analyze. Analyzing it, they will adjust it and use it to imagine their future in teaching. So once they have that, they call that progressive. So once they have that, they'll start to analyze both the previous experience and the present experience and see what is working and what is not working. And then after that, then they'll go to the last stage of their reflection, where they'll start to say, now, let's create a model now, taking from our previous experience, let's create a model of our teaching. Then after that, the expectation is that they should know who they are. Because here you analyze what establish your experience. And then after that, what is your imagination of the future? And then after that, you analyze both the future and the present and the past. Analyze that. Once you analyze that, you now produce a new theory. So in your case, is what you call your philosophy. So your philosophy is here under the synthetical moment. Because what I am trying to do is that under regression, I asked you to write your teaching philosophy. Now, after writing your teaching philosophy, I want you to use this teaching philosophy now to imagine what you want to be using the previous data, because you taught this thing. Now you are critiquing it. So critiquing it will mean that you are starting to analyze your future, your present, your past. You are analyzing those together. And then after that, you will then synthesize that to produce your new identity, which will be meaningful to you, not from people from outside, but it will be meaningful to you. So that's why I said that you can't be wrong with your teaching philosophy, because the space you are will demand some other action which are different from mine, and then which are different from your siblings, that are different from your parents. So you will have new genes that generate your own identity, which is, in this case, your unconscious mind has unique processes, which is different from others. Now, in order to understand that, look at your fingerprints. Your fingerprints are not identical to any other person in this world. So it's unique. So what we are pushing you to do then here is that you should find your own identity, which is unique, and then use that as a contribution to education. Because what may happen is that you may be the first one to establish a working theory of education, which we can all use and achieve 100% in what we are doing. But at the moment, no one has done that. And what is the reason for that? Because we are becoming victim of those professional spaces or societal spaces. We are reproducing. So no. So and so said this, then we tend to reproduce. But now, with this theory, then Kurel, it says, we need that uniqueness of yours to come to place, because it may be the one that will heal the whole world. Because once you come with the theory that will work, other than just helping us to survive, like all the theories that we have, because they are just helping us to survive. But they don't give us the truth about what we are doing. So the moment you become the first one to do that, we'll all worship you. All nations will worship you because you will come up with the truth about education. So once you have that, it will be easier for you to then to penetrate the whole world, you see. So for now, we don't have that. That's why I'm saying to you, not right here, start your journey using few curriculum concepts that you define well, you understand them well, and then you see how they influence your teaching. So once you see that, you will then start now to use your experience to shape what teaching is about. Once you have that philosophy now, you will then give it to us if you have established that that philosophy is the one that is helping us to achieve outstanding performance or 100% in what you are doing. So I'm sure you have seen this theory then, which was then produced by the findings. So these are the findings for this particular paper. So this paper has produced this theory, which is called Natural Identity Framework. So what does this say then? It says that when you teach, you need to understand three things. One, you need to understand your professional identity. You also need to understand your societal identity, how this thing is linking to others. Then after that, you need to understand your personal identity. So professional identity then, it's about science evidence of your identity. So the evidence that is prescribed somewhere, which you can easily answer by reading them from somewhere. For example, if they say, what prescribed content should I teach? What resources should I use? What assessment should I use? What learning management system should I use? You see, all those are the what of this world. Why are they what? Because they are prescribed somewhere. All what you do, you go to that document that will give you this, and then you read them to say, oh, here's the content, oh, here's this, etc., etc. So that is the first part, that if you want to really understand teaching, there is that element where you should know what to teach. That's professional identity. You identify yourself within the profession of your particular subject. What content should I teach? What learning management should I use? Because these universities have subscribed as prescribed specific learning management systems. But while you are concentrating on the what, you will find that you are working with colleagues of yours and your students are working with other people. Therefore, you should understand them as the societal identity, that or when they identify with other people, look for information from other people, they are answering the how. How do I learn? How do I teach? How do I achieve the outcomes? How do I use learning social media sites? So the how and how is coming from your societal identity. Okay, let me give you a practical example. If you say here, you want to teach your learners about the Table Mountain, that in Cape Town, we have Table Mountain. Professional identity will demand that you bring science evidence. So it can be that you go there, you take pictures. You have pictures, you have videos, you have everything. Then you give that to your learners. So your learners will believe you because you brought in the videos and there to say, yes, Table Mountain does exist. Even if you are lying for that matter, if you have taken another mountain, they will believe you because you bring science evidence, since they fell in love with what they call professional identity. Professional identity is about bringing science evidence in whatever you are doing. And then but societary identity, it's about taking the opinions of elders or taking the opinions of your superior and believe them and work according to that. So if they tell you that we were told by Nelson Mandela that there is Table Mountain in Cape Town, and then you should then believe them because you are taking what you call societary identity. You believe because you were told, and then you work your way according to that. So when you teach, then you may even teach them about that Table Mountain, which you were told by Nelson Mandela, or you were told by someone somewhere. Is as long as you were told by people whom you believe they have the truth, you will believe that and then teach your learners about it. That is societary identity. And then what about it then when you take a personal identity? Personal identity is where you address the who. Who is teaching, who is learning. So whosoever is teaching and learning must first reflect on his previous experience or on his identity. That will become personal identity. So the issues that are here were just identified according to the paper that we have seen there. But here is the question then, the question. Here, others will believe that with science knowledge, we have the answer. Others will say, no, with the voices of the elders, we have the answer. But others will say, no. Elders may lie. Science evidence may lie. So what should I do then? So personal identity then, it's then forcing those learners of yours to go to Cape Town and then observe the Table Mountain, because it may happen that the pictures that we have taken there are from the East. Yet these learners can only understand Table Mountain if they come from the West. Others can only understand it if they come from the North, but your pictures were taken from one side. You see there, the world that they will create there, yes, it will be professional world, but it's misleading because they don't understand it. All what they do, they just follow the pictures and then believe in those pictures without understanding the Table Mountain concept. And others, this is what it will complicate it more. There are those learners who will ask you that, so the pictures were taken using Samsung, and then you say yes. Then they'll simply say, no, Samsung is not taking the reality. You were supposed to use iPhone. Please give us those that are coming from the iPhone. We believe them. But if they are coming from Samsung, we don't believe them. You see, even the science evidence is questionable. So that's why then when we ask you to reflect, we are saying, go to the Table Mountain, touch it, go around. So with the curriculum concept, then we are saying, the concept that we have used, interrogate them now, touch them, bring them over. Yes. Then, because if they are coming from here, you were told by Vygotsky Vygotsky passed away a long time ago. Maybe that's why he passed away, because he used what is giving to you. You see, now you have a problem. And then again, this side, maybe the one, the camera that was used, we don't believe it. So the belief, again, is challenging what you, so what we are asking you then, to starting a new chain, try to avoid to be a victim of this, where they say science evidence is the world to you. Or they will say what you were told when you grew up is the truth. Try now to interrogate it. And then you have your own personal experience, because you have seen the world, which we have already created. Therefore, you interrogate it by reflecting and reflecting and reflecting. So we call that personal identity. So we position that within the pragmatic paradigm or pragmatism, where you take what will work for you rather than the fairy tale that were told by elders or were told by people in your discipline. So if you fall into the trap of them, yes, obviously they'll control you for life. You believe in this, they will also control you for life. But at least if you believe in your internal intelligence, you reflect it back to say, hang on, guys. I had my body of this size, but look at it today. It's 20 times, if not more, times what I had when I was born. So which means I have something good happening to me. Then that's what we call personal identity, where people cannot just come with pictures to say, yeah, Table Mountain does exist. Look at this. No. What if this person has taken Drakensberg Mountain and then is creating this Table Mountain that does not exist, that is imaginary, using photos? Or they have friends, they become a big group of people, they tell you that, no, you know what, Table Mountain does exist in Cape Town, yet they were told by a certain grandfather who passed away, etc., like that. But you also want to fall into the trap of becoming that person who passed away a long time ago. So, but here, look at here, when at least when you come to your to your personal identity, to say no. If people tell me about Table Mountain, I will have to travel to Table Mountain and see it myself before I talk about it. Because remember, you may go to see a Table Mountain when you are 5 years old, but you'll tell people about it, your experience of 5 years old. But when you go to the Table Mountain after maybe 50 years, you find that the Table Mountain that we are describing has already affected by soil erosion. It has now one side that you know. Therefore, this personal identity as well may not be truth. They may not give you the truth forever, although you have even touched the Table Mountain, but you need to move with that time to say, okay, I'm talking about my experience as a 5-year-old girl or boy. Now I will tell you about it. Let me go to it again. You go to it at the age of 20 years old, and then you talk about your experience at the age of 20 years old. But if you are still struggling to suppress what your society imposed on you about the Table Mountain, you are in big trouble, because natural forces may change that Table Mountain, where you find that it was not like this when you were 20 years old, but now you are 40 years old, is something else, you see. So you need to move with the move so that the truth, you always become closer to the truth. That's why now this theory is saying we call that natural identity, because the three identities are helping us to survive, but the natural forces are then becoming real to us. That's why when you say, I have this pen, you see the pen I have, I want to make sure that this pen, with this pen, I can achieve everything. So where did you get the pen from? You were given that pen by maybe professionals there or your society. Then you keep on saying the pen is working, the pen is working. But when these learners of yours start to say now, okay, sir or miss, your pen is working. We all want to achieve 100% here. Please pray to the pen so that we'll all get 100%. You see now you are in trouble because you have taken this from there or there, yet these learners are taking you to task now to say, thank you, we are not going to study. Use the pen so that we'll all pass. When we come to your class, say, we don't have to study, we'll all have to pass, get 100% using the pen. Then tomorrow they will come to say, sir, with your pen, my relatives are in hospital, the nearest hospital. So can you please take the pen and go and heal them same time, so that you just take them out from hospital because they are sick. And then just do it to everyone in that hospital. Heal all of them so that the hospital will be used for something else. And then we're in trouble because now they are testing your pen. That no, the pen is becoming just a superstition, is not becoming reality. Although the pen, we have touched it from the personal identity, but because it's coming from outside you, it may prove you wrong, you see. Or others will say, no, you know, at home, we have problem, we need money. Say you have a pen, you have a working pen, a pen that gives us the truth. Therefore, can you please help us with your pen, pray to the pen so that we can win the national lottery. They win the national lottery. You see, they are free now. So if you can be able to do that, it means your pen is working. If it can help them to win the national lottery, it can heal all of them, it can give them 100%, then you deserve to be worshipped. But all the theories that we have, they are letting us down. Look at the doctors. When the doctors are trained, when they go to medical school professionally, they are trained there to say, this is what you need to prescribe. If someone has this, they give them theories. But there are patients that are dying in their hands. Teachers, on the other hand, teachers were given theories for teaching to say, yeah, you must use Votkowski, use and this. But other learners are failing from those teachers who have the truth about teaching. Therefore, because they are just using the professional identity to scare people, and then people get to respect them, to say, no, this is a professional teacher or this is a professional doctor. Therefore, if I put my life in his hand, I will heal. But others die in the process. Because why? Because they were told about those theories. They are not coming from their own reflection of their experience. So your teaching philosophy then should come from here instead of becoming a victim of this. Yes, you have past experience where you have gone through theories that were used by other people, and then you have gone through opinions of people in your community or in your school there who are giving opinion about teaching. But when you teach, you find that you observe something else, you experience something else about the class. While they gave you what they gave you as their opinion, or they gave you what is prescribed here, but at the end of the day, you need to reflect back and see what you can do, combining the strength of this and the strength of this in order to do this. And what will happen then if let's give an example again, one example, where you have load shedding. We are affected by load shedding. So here is ESCOM. Other people will say, will be discussing, because they have groups, social groups, to say, do we have load shedding today? Others will say, no, no, no. According to ESCOM, we don't have load shedding now. We don't have load shedding today. Then we have that belief because we are told by our friends in the group. We believe in those friends in the group. Therefore, we believe that no load shedding is not going to come. Or professionally, we have the app that is generated by ESCOM, where we look at the app to say, okay, no, there's no load shedding schedule in terms of my area. Okay, let's stay with that. Yet, after we have indicated that, you find that few generators that generate the power for us are affected by storm. While ESCOM did not prescribe that there will be no load shedding, all of a sudden we have load shedding. Level 6, load shedding. You see what will be then that? What is that then? So because you can't put it here to say, no, that's professional identity, or no, it was social identity. Professionally, ESCOM gave you what they call is the truth, the schedule, which they called was the truth for the time they generated it. And then here, when these people were reading maybe schedule or socializing, they realized that no, maybe there will be no load shedding. But when these generators are affected, immediately we will have to experience load shedding. That's what is called natural identity, because ESCOM was not aware that the nature will affect, the storm will affect the generators. At the same time, these people who are using apps, they did not check maybe a minute before. Even if ESCOM will simply say, okay, now we are implementing stage 6 in the next 30 minutes. When you check your schedule, maybe your schedule will still say no load shedding yet. They've scheduled it after this, your app has updated that. Therefore, that is natural identity. It is driven naturally. So whether you knew it through the schedule or phoning those guys in ESCOM, you in order to make sure that you take their personal identity, but the nature may affect that. So when we do these things, then in teaching, when we teach from our personal identity using pragmatic curriculum or using competent performance curriculum here, which is in line with professional identity. This side is outcomes driven or competence based curriculum, which is subscribing here. Then here is pragmatic curriculum. When we use all these, we have some issues of assessment that are always with us. For example, peer assessment, if we decide to construct knowledge, it will be the order of the day. Therefore, it will be part of what we are doing. It will connect us to what we call personal identity. Or if we want to assess these learners in order to grade them, we'll have to use summative assessment, which is the connecting between what we call performance curriculum and competence-based curriculum. And then at the same time, we have what you call formative assessment. Formative assessment is any question that you ask to establish, you ask people to establish if they are ready for the next action. That is formative assessment. So with these three identities, then this paper is saying, don't be too hard on yourself. If you find that you have used your experience, your teaching philosophy, which you think will produce 100% from each of the learners. Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't do that, because the nature will also bring its action there. Maybe you'll find that when these learners were learning, they were affected by, maybe it was freezing in your class, or maybe in your class it was very hot. You see, those natural forces may have affected those learners, even if you were good enough to make sure that you support them in order for them to achieve 100%. So when you don't achieve it from your personal position, you can still reflect and re-critique what you are doing, so that you understand how the nature sometimes disturb what we are doing better, you see, or what we are doing at our best. So we get it like that. So there's the theory that was produced by this paper. This paper also used the hierarchy of identity to say mostly we were born in our societies, therefore it makes sense then that we all start with an influence of our societal identity, where we influenced by our parents, our families. Then we believe what our families are believing. If they say we must eat a lot of red meat, we'll grow up eating a lot of red meat. So because we are following our peers, families, so there are many of us, majority of us are subscribing there under societal identity, because sometimes we are scared of those elders. Therefore, we have to respect them in such a way that we do whatever, even if we don't believe in it, but we have to do it because they are elders. But when we move to professional identity, the number decrease, because there it's only those who will subscribe on specific discipline and then start to say whatever they do can produce 100%, because there are prescribed steps to be done. You follow those steps, you achieve 100% following the action of summative assessment. But there are those who then, you see the number now, we reduce the number again, where you find that of these teachers, few of them understood themselves as identified as personal identity, where they could be able to deal with the issues of who is teaching, who is learning, and then learning is based on that. So computers are doing that well. When you connect to the internet, they are doing it well, where you can generate those formative assessment strategies, where you ask some questions that help you to establish the needs of those individuals. Then you work according to that. But at the same time, when we move now to the natural issues, then you find that even if we have used formative, summative, and all these, we identified ourselves with this, but we find that we still don't produce 100%. Then maybe what we need to explore more is how the nature affects our identities that we believe they are the ones that will help us to generate 100%. Once we have that, then we'll then be able to find a solution around what we are doing. I think the paper then concluded there. This was the last diagram for the paper. So how far are you from getting the gist of the paper then?